Are you looking for a new whiskey adventure? Then climb in and buckle up. Get ready for one hell of a ride on the Whiskey Trip podcast with your host, Big Chief. Join in as he and his guests explore whiskey and dive into whiskey stories from around the world. Now here's your host, Big Chief.
Hey, it's old Big Chief, and yeah, you're taking another ride on a whiskey trip. And folks, I got to say thank you. I had Mr. Preston Wall last week, a veteran like myself, and I appreciate all the support. I appreciate those folks that actually did some reviews for me. Those really do help, and it gets great guests on my show as well when you write a review for me on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, or on my Facebook page. And today, I got some guests with you, and I've been working on this for the past several years. But I got Woody Creek Distillers with me today, and I got Mr. Bill Macy with me, and Sean Kenyon. Gentlemen, welcome to the Whiskey Trip, my friends.
Good to be here.
Great to be here.
Well, we're going to drink a little whiskey today, and I poured myself my first pour, and I got some of this bourbon whiskey you guys made up there in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. Can you guys tell me about this?
Sean?
Yeah. Woody Creek Distillers has been around since 2015. Started with vodka and gin, laying down whiskey right away. 4 years later, whiskey was in a right place. Took it actually a little bit longer than it would at Kentucky aging, or mountain aging is a little bit different, a little less oxygen, different climate. But right at about 4.5 years is when that whiskey was perfect. Several different mash bills to start. We finally settled on the one where we're at. And are you drinking? You said you're drinking the bourbon right now?
I am. I got the Colorado straight bourbon whiskey in my glass, 90 proof. Yeah. It's pretty damn tasty, I tell you that. It tastes like a bourbon. That's a good sign.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's good 70% corn in that mash right there. And the company was started by Mary Scanlon, Pat Scanlon, and Mark Kleckner years ago, who happened to be Bill's neighbors. And then Bill jumped into the fray a few years ago, and it's been a whole lot of fun since.
Well, Bill, how do you get into a whiskey company? You're a known, you've been an actor for a long time. I'm sure you just didn't say, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into making whiskey. I'm sure you drink some whiskey at some point, but when do you get into making whiskey?
Well, I've always been fascinated by it. I find the whole distilling process very romantic. It's so old, nobody even knows who invented it. And I was into Scotch whiskeys a lot, and I really loved the process of the pot still and the barrel aging and all of that stuff. But I moved to Woody Creek Road, of the title of our distillery, and I lived next door to Mark Kleckner. One day I noticed that one of our pastures had potatoes growing in it, and they were all in bloom. And my brother-in-law made a deal with Woody Creek Distillers that they could use that pasture to grow potatoes for their vodka in return for haying our fields. It seemed like a good deal. And it was a week after that Mark knocked on the door and he said, "Bill, I don't know if you know this, but we have a distillery." And I said, "Mark, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm in." And been with him ever since. And the finest spirits in America is what I like to say. And so I do a lot. There are other spirits that are as good, but there are none that are better. And they're all made in Colorado. And we make every drop of it, with the exception of the gin, some botanicals. But I can take you to where it's made. We have a beautiful distillery in Basalt. And things are going very well.
Now, Sean, how do you get into Woody Creek, and how do you, from what I understand, you own a couple bars in Denver, and I'm going to be in Denver in May for work. I know, what's the Coast Guard doing in Denver for work?
A lot of coast here.
There's a federal training center up there in the mountains. I'll be at that facility. But how did you get tangled up with Woody Creek?
Well, I'm a third generation bartender. My mother, my father, and my grandfather were all bartenders. My career took me to opening a bar 14 years ago now. Here in Denver, that bar became an internationally awarded bar, which is pretty cool. Something I never imagined happening. Opened a second bar here. But right about when I was opening the second bar, I was working at a kind of a spirits exposition in Denver, which is a national uh, like a it was a national conference, and I was working a table. I'd been hired to work a table to create cocktails, and in the middle of that in the middle of that night, uh, I found out it was Mary later, one of the owner of Woody Creek. I dropped a bottle of vodka on my table, and they dropped it and walked away. And so I picked it up, I put it in my bag. I actually probably put it away for a couple of days. I came back to work a few days later, and then I decided to open the vodka and taste it. And I opened it, poured a poured a glass, and was blown away by the art of the distiller there. I could tell that it was potato. It had the sweetness, the body, all of those things. I hadn't read it on the bottle yet, and uh, the richness, it was something I'd never tasted before in vodka. I was blown away. Come to find, um, come to find out that Woody Creek grows all their own potatoes, does everything sources everything in Colorado. At the time, vodka was the only product that was on the market, um, and called them up, like actually reached out, called the distillery to find out who I could talk to and see if I could work with them based on the vodka. And when I got up to the distillery and sat with the distillers, I I found all the barrels of whiskey that they laid down, and the plan was to eventually be mainly whiskey. But a lot of distillers will make vodka and gin on the way while your whiskey is aging. But they made a vodka and gin so amazing that they stand on their own and they'll never go away.
Mm.
Not just about the whiskey, it's the whole distillery. But the whiskeys were, at that time, there were several different mash bills, but the one that really stood out to me was the 100% rye. Uh, and I was blown away by it. The 100% rye, you think about 100% rye, and if you drink a lot of whiskey, you know that I always relate whiskey to bread. Like white bread is mild for the wheat. Cornbread is sweet for the bourbon, and then rye bread being spice, right? Spice of rye. And I expected this spice bomb when I tasted it, but there were so many. There was like tropical fruit notes, and I was amazed by the depth of flavor in at what at that time was a 2-year whiskey. Now, I didn't think it was ready to be bottled at that point, but I could see the structure and how great this whiskey. I mean, I saw that whiskey coming a mile away because once I tasted that, I saw the distilling was excellent, and once it hit the right age, it was going to be perfect, and I couldn't have been any more right. I'm patting myself on the back as you can tell, but the not only the whiskey itself, but the people drew me in. The Scanlons are a great family, and Mark Kleckner is, he's a good friend of mine, and we all, like, the people all really buy in and believe in what we do, and that really drew me too because I was working with people with passion and knowledge and talent, and I always try and seek that out, and I've been lucky enough to find myself around those people in my life.
Now, this whiskey right here I'm sipping on, you said it has a 70% corn mash bill. What's the
Yes,
secondary
sir.
grain?
I believe that's 70, 15, 15. The one that you have.
So
So
15 what? Rye?
15 malted barley. That's a no, 15 rye, 15 malted barley.
Okay.
So that you're gonna get a lot of that body from malted barley, and most bourbons will have 5% malted barley as like a fermentation starter, etc., which gives it a little bit of body. But Scotch is Scotch whiskeys, Irish whiskeys, Japanese whiskeys, etc., 100% malted barley, which gives them that rich body that they have, and the barley in this mash really kind of adds to that and boosts the sweetness of the sweetness of the corn and the spicy notes of the rye. I think it really gives it that great finish.
I really like this. It's got a lot of viscosity to it. Very sticky. It's got a little bit of sweetness to it that I like. Almost a banana bread to me, and maybe that is that malted barley coming out. When I think of my grandma and having those ripe bananas, and she's making that banana bread, and I smell this, and then I taste it. When the nose matches the palate to me, it makes me want to drink it. And then I sit here and sip on it, and it just develops. And I look at the legs on the glass, and I'm like, okay, this is a really good whiskey. So that makes me wonder, what's the age on these bottles right here?
Depends on which one you have. It's gonna be between 4 and 6. Most of the bourbons, most of the bourbons are 5 to 6, 5 to 7. Strangely enough, the rye matured to be bottle ready faster than the bourbon did, even though they're laid down. There's probably some science involved there that I'm not that that I can't comment on, but comment on knowledgeably. But yeah, the most of the bourbons in their right place are in the 5 year average range, I would say.
Now, Bill, what's your preference? You said you started out drinking Scotch, but uh, do you like rye bourbons or do you like wheated bourbons?
I like rye. I'm a rye guy all the way, and I'm a Southern boy, raised in Georgia, and the only thing I knew about rye was that my parents would drink Canadian rye, which they kept under the sink, and they would take it like whisk. They would. It was like medicine. They'd pour themselves a shot glass with a chaser of water, and even my mom, who was as big as a minute, would take a whole shot glass and down it with water. Anyway, I started drinking rye a couple of years before I joined the distillery, and I think that's America's drink, not bourbon. It's rye. When George Washington left office, he didn't make bourbon. He made rye whiskey. First thing he did because he was broke. And I grew up in Cumberland, Maryland, and they used to call it Old Monongahela. It was all the East Coast. Prohibition killed the rye industry, and the bourbon industry came back strong and smart, and the rye industry never recovered. But it's a resurgence now. But I'm a rye guy all the way, and I mostly drink it on the rocks.
Speaking of George, I did an episode at George Washington's distillery
Yeah, yeah.
with the master distiller there, a buddy of mine named Steve, and what a fascinating time. And a lot of people would think his rye whiskey would have been aged, but it wasn't. He was just selling it to soldiers and sailors right down the road in the tavern, and they're drinking it straight. But back then, the average American man, which was about 13 years old and older, was drinking right around 7 to 8 gallons of whiskey. Because,
Holy crap.
as we say, they didn't have Motrin and aspirin and all these dirty drugs that we have today. They just had whiskey to ease those pains of the day.
Whiskey still eases a lot of pain. I like to. I like this. We celebrate it. We commiserate with it. We dedicate with it, and we worship with it. We use whiskeys and alcohols and spirits for a lot of purposes.
I do. I use it for a conversation piece to
Yep.
open doors for myself, to network with people, to communicate with them, and you find that common bond with your fellow man through whiskey. You could be from different places in America. You say you're from Georgia, I'm from Texas. Well, we might agree on whiskey, though. We might say, man, that's a good glass of whiskey right
Yeah.
there. Let's be friends. And next thing you know, you're sharing a bottle of whiskey with a friend. And you know what, guys? I think I would be proud to share this Woody Creek Distillers bourbon whiskey with any friend. And I love that you guys love your own whiskey. If you don't love your own whiskey, then you're probably in the wrong business.
Oh, too true. I love everything about it. The distillery is so pretty. It's really something. We got these Christian Carl stills, which are, what are they, Sean? They're 2.5 stories high. They had to raise the roof.
Yeah.
They had to raise the roof of the building they put them in. And they're all stainless steel and glass and copper and so gorgeous. They're column stills, but one of them looks like a pot still on the bottom. It's
Yeah, it's pot into column.
it's
Yeah.
it's so great. It's so great. And we've been doing it for what, 13 years. So we're pretty close with all the farmers. Everything is sourced out of Colorado and on a first name basis with a lot of the suppliers. And it's great when they're doing the potatoes because these giant trucks come in filled with potatoes and they chop them up. And that's why the vodka is so good, because it still tastes like potatoes. It's got a
Potato
viscosity.
vodka.
Yep. And I like to tell the people this, but they figured it out. There's 8 potatoes in every bottle of vodka. 8 potatoes.
8 potatoes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a fact. I'm not a big, well, I am when I go down to Mexico for some reason. I get in a pool and I start drinking vodka, and I don't know what goes wrong with me. It's called relaxation, I guess. But
Yeah.
I always feel like I need to give my palate a break from whiskey. If you do something like I do all the time, you're drinking different bottles of whiskey almost every day. I'm trying something new. Somebody's sending me a package, and so I do need a break to refresh my palate. And do you think that, Sean? Sometimes you need to take a break and kind of refresh that palate a little bit?
Well, I mean, I'm a spirits nerd in general. I love whiskeys. I love agave spirits. I go back and forth, but I always come back to American whiskey. I always come back to bourbon and rye. Um, that's like my foundation. That's what I drink on the normal. If you find me when I travel a ton, when I'm at a hotel bar at the end of the night, I'm going straight for bourbon. If they have Woody Creek, great. If not, several other brands that I enjoy. I mean, you can love your own whiskey, but there's so much beautiful whiskey out there as well.
Well,
Um,
you can tell I love this because I poured a
yeah,
second pour, and that rarely
yeah.
happens with me on an episode. So 2 pours out of me, your whiskey must be really good.
I'm half the way through mine, so um, but I do with the vodka. That's a thing that really shocked me was the body that the vodka had, and so yeah, I can drink that. I can drink that vodka on the rocks, on the rocks with a twist. On the rocks on its own, it's just, I mean, it's delicious. And every once in a while, you need a break to even if it's just to appreciate what you're drinking on the normal, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I switch it up. I don't mean, if I'm drinking easy, sometimes I'll just drink a little vodka. Or I also love a right vodka martini.
Now, Bill, getting into whiskey and stuff, how do you find the time as an actor? Because I'm sure your time is demanded and you're on the go all the time, all over the world. How do you find the time to jump into a different business than you're in? Is it just you wanted to diversify and say, you know what, at some point I might stop acting? Um,
Yeah, I don't work as hard as you think I do. As a matter of fact, downtime is one of the tough things about being an actor because it can be several months between jobs. I mostly do movies now. Um, I did a series, Shameless, that you were talking about, and that's good. That was fun because that's going to work every day, and I really like that because I really like to act. But movies, there's a lot of downtime, and um, as I said, I'm really proud to be part of this distillery because it's. I'm not exaggerating. It's as fine as you can make whiskey. They We're blessed in that Mary and Pat Scanlon and Mark have the financial means to never cut a corner. There's one goal: to make the best whiskey possible that we want to drink. We don't do a lot of product testing. There's not a lot of experts who come in and tell us where to market. There are about 4 or 5 people that decide what goes out. And the distiller, Blaine, is one of them. I put out a rye whiskey, a straight rye, first a malted rye a couple of years ago, and that sold out pretty quickly. And I've got another signature. It comes in a really cool box and it costs more. There it is. And it's got my name on it. And that's 100% rye whiskey, and it is so delicious. Um, so I've got plenty of time to do this, and I live in Woody Creek, and it's been a joy. And we got to mention Mary's Gin. They came up with this, I don't know how many years ago, but Mary's Select Gin, and it's a purple gin with butterfly pea blossom, and that stuff is delicious. I like it on the rocks, like Sean does, with maybe a squeeze of lemon. But oh man, that stuff, it makes you taller, better looking, and smarter. I don't know how it happens.
I need all three of those things.
Get some Mary Select.
But
I didn't get
but
no
that's a
gin. I am a gin guy though,
yeah.
and
Me
I
too,
like to
brother.
drink it just neat. And I really fell in love with gin after I taste some barrel aged gin. It just something about barrel aged gin is there's something unique about it, and I think the gin out of like Colorado The gins I've had out of Colorado, there's something different there, some kind of magical. Maybe it is the water there. I don't know.
Water. The juniper, we can go up on the mountain and pick the juniper. It grows wild up there. And
I think there's something to be said about that
Yeah.
terroir of the region.
let's face facts. A gin and tonic is close to a perfect cocktail. It's just about perfect. And I'm with you, man. I feel like, a daytime drink, a gin and tonic just seems to fit, or a vodka tonic or something like that. And the whiskey is what I long for when the sun goes down. I don't know why. Whiskey and a cigar.
Yeah, that makes for a relaxing day and stuff. So you guys are producing whiskey. What barrels do you use to put your whiskey in to age it?
American white oak.
Yeah, all white oak. Of course, it has to be brand new American oak every time. Um, as the regulations say, but yeah, it's American white oak that we're using.
But where are you sourcing those barrels from? What
Mostly
cooperage?
Kentucky. Is it Kentucky or Tennessee?
Yeah, is it? Um, it's something stave. I forget. It's Kentucky. They're coming out of Kentucky. I think they're coming out of Louisville.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
I
I
even like
can't.
that,
I
but
can't.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm a
Yeah.
bit of a carpenter, and that's a great bit of carpentry too.
Yeah. Watching
Those
watching
Coopers.
Cooper's work is
Oh
amazing.
man, and
Well, when you take a 80-year-old tree and you only get 2.5 barrels out of each tree, that's it does take a lot of wood to make one barrel. So
yeah,
you got to treat that barrel with a little bit of care there. But it is a craft. I love that you say you're a woodworker, and I keep looking behind you, and it's hard not to see those two. I'm not sure if one's a guitar
oh,
and one is a small
Ukuleles.
two
ukuleles.
ukuleles. Yeah, I'm sort of nuts for the ukulele. I used to play guitar a lot. I got a bit of arthritis in my fingers, and also people that play ukuleles are just a little bit better than everybody else.
So you are a true artist. Working with a whiskey company, putting your name to it, and that says a lot about yourself that you want to put your name on a product. I think some artists out there just stick their name on a label and say, okay, I can sell that. But you seem that you're drinking it, you're loving it. But an artist that can play an instrument and act, I don't know if I could do that.
Also, I write songs, and guess what I write songs about? Woody Creek Distillers and the Valley and drinking. That's all I write about. I used to write birthday songs for my two daughters and my wife. Now I write about alcohol.
I think you need to write a song about the whiskey trip. That's what I think,
I
Bill. Is
think
write me
so.
a song. Write me a
A
song.
lot of things rhyme with trip.
Well, yeah, for sure. So
Whiskey's tough.
you guys are you making your whiskey out there. How many states does Woody Creek go into right now?
Believe we're in
Technically,
17. Is
yeah,
it?
even more than that, technically. But
Yeah.
just recently, we've narrowed our focus, and Colorado, of course, is our big state. Um, Minnesota, we're focusing down, and um, the sales force is we're a really small company, really. So it's grassroots, and we've been selling this stuff by meeting the people who put the spirits on the shelves or who pour them in the glasses. We have great relationships with restaurants and bartenders. We bring them out to Colorado, put them up at this great ranch we've got, show them the distillery. I sing a couple of ukulele songs, and they're they're in our back pocket by the time they get the whole thing because our story is magnificent. It's a great story.
Well, I think most whiskeys do have a great story to them and stuff. But really, what matters is inside the bottle. You could have a beautiful bottle, a beautiful story, but if the whiskey isn't good inside it,
It's true.
then that's all you got is a good story and a beautiful looking bottle. And I've had a lot of those, but then you crack it open, pour it in your glass, and you're like, I don't know about this. But this right here, I had to pour myself a second glass. And that's saying a lot about me because I am a weeded bourbon nut.
Oh, we
Anything
have a
wheat,
great weeded bourbon. You got to try
The
it.
wheat is one of my favorites.
you guys missed out on cinnamon. Colin, shame on you, buddy. but hey, I'm appreciative of the 2 bottles because I do appreciate all whiskeys. I'm a whiskey lover. I'm a whiskey nut, a nerd, whatever you want to call me. I just love everything about whiskey and what it can do for good. Like my guest last week is a veteran organization called Frontline Heroes Outdoors, and it's about veterans, first responders, police officers across the board, and they use that for good to help them out and ease some of their stress in life. So a whiskey like Woody Creek, do you guys do any single barrel picks yet?
Yeah, we do. We allow some bars to come up. We've allowed some on premise or off premise accounts, like Benny's in Illinois, et cetera, to come and pick their own barrel and bottle specifically for them.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You know, when you start a barrel program like that and you get that single barrel and you get a little higher proof up there in that 115 proof somewhere in there,
Yeah.
there's something magical in those bottles.
Sean said the
I think it's
coolest thing, and we were talking about. I mean, Sean is a cocktail aficionado. He's invented them. He knows all about them, and he teaches them. But we were talking about how we, in our old age, really drink it neat or just on the rocks. And Sean was talking about you get 3 drinks, especially if you do a barrel proof or something like that. You get that first sip, which opens up your brain. And then halfway through your drink, when the ice is melted, you get that down to about 80 proof, which is sipping heaven. And he said he even likes it when it gets down to the bottom, when it's just brown water and it's just a little bit
yeah.
of bourbon with the water. So you get 3 drinks.
It's a progression that is enjoyable,
It
and
is.
especially when you're talking about cask proof whiskeys, and laying that on a big cube or a couple of cubes, and you'll get that right off the bat, that really big headspace with what you get with those, the cask strengths, and then as it mellows, it treats your palate to so many different levels of
Yeah.
flavor, and so many different things come out at so many different facets of your sipping. And I love that about sipping whiskey and putting it on a rock. I mean, I drink a lot neat, but when I drink it on a rock, it's kind of, I expect it to be more of a stretch,
Yeah.
and I really enjoy that part.
And
I
Sean, I
enjoy
was
it.
noticing that you have a drink and you get those 3 drinks in one, 3 experiences. But when you pour yourself another one, you start all over. I'm
Yeah.
there. I'm there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that you really do get. I mean, there's really 50 pours in a bottle, but I probably get about 20, 25 pours out of a bottle, to
Yeah.
be honest. But what I love about it is I do get 25 pours, and I'm a wine lover. I'm all spirits lover, but wine lover. But the thing about a wine bottle is, especially if my wife is drinking it in her giant wine glasses, she might get 2 pours out of that, and I'm like, that bottle costs $100, honey. We got to slow that down right there. You're drinking $100 bills there. But I was like, John, drink some whiskey with me. It's got a little higher proof. So
Too.
Yeah.
Whiskey in a flask that you can put in your. I've
oh yeah,
done very well with that. I was just telling this story. We were at one of the award shows and we were late and they won't let you back in. So that we were stuck in this little anteroom, waiting for a commercial break before you could go back in. And I looked up, and there are these producers. It's big producers, and nobody was talking. We were just waiting. There were big actors there too, about 12 of us or something like that. I just, on a whim, I pulled out my flask. I took a sip, passed it all around, and man, we were chatting away. And I got to work with some of those producers. They called me back, and a week later, I got a case of bourbon whiskey from one of them.
wow.
Amazing.
Yeah, so
I
Always the
love
right time
stories
for a
like that.
flask.
Yep.
Right there. Well, listeners, we're right up against the first half. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Sean's legendary cocktails that he can make, and maybe he can recommend a cocktail for you. And then we're going to ask Bill about maybe some of his future projects he's working on, maybe a movie or two, maybe a trilogy, I think. But when we come back, we'll continue this great conversation. Seldom Seen Farm, bringing bourbon barrel-aged maple syrup goodness from everything from pancakes to whiskey cocktails. Seldom Seen Farm in Northern Ohio has something magical for your whiskey cocktails instead of that old basic simple syrup. Kevin Holy and his family are harvesting the sap from over their 5,000 maple trees and turning it into something delicious, maple syrup. He then goes a step further by aging in bourbon barrels for 6 to 9 months. That's right, bourbon barrel-aged maple syrup. Shh, don't tell Miss Viv, but I love to pour it over my buttered pecan ice cream. Visit them at seldomseenmaple.com. All right, listeners, we're back for the second half, and I am with Woody Creek Distillers, Mr. William Bill Macy, the legendary actor. It's almost hard not to call him Frank and thinking he's probably sitting here in his underwear or something. And then Mr. Sean Kenyon.
You can only see his top half, so you never know.
I have pants on, possibly.
Because that's something Frank would do.
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, we're sitting here, and I poured some of this Woody Creek Distillers Colorado Straight 100% rye whiskey. Take me through this. I mean, there's not a whole lot to take me through because it's 100% rye whiskey, right? That's something beautiful. At 90 proof, it's got this golden color, but take me through it.
Well,
I mean, yeah, go ahead. You go, Bill.
It was a hat trick. I know the first 3 or 4 shots at 100% rye were disasters. I guess in the tanks it would bubble if you don't get the temperature and the bill exactly right. It bubbles up and it flowed over the edges of the tanks, and it took a day to clean the distillery floor. So they started again, and I think that happened 2 or 3 times before they dialed it in. But now that is my favorite. That 100% rye whiskey.
100% Elbon rye. It
Elbon
is
rye, yes.
particular grain of rye. And most rye whiskeys that you'll get will be different varieties of rye. They're just bagged commodity rye at a lot of the big distilleries. So it'll be different grains. It'll be different types of rye. Any given field of rye can have, 40 different varieties of rye on that particular field. Where we're getting it out in Eastern Colorado, it's just we have the ability to do a single grain style of rye, which is the Elbon rye, and so much flavor to it. Like I said, it brought so much to the table that wasn't typical in rye whiskeys. And while it's got a fair amount of spice and it's delicious in that way, it also had almost like caramelized pineapple to me. There's crazy flavors in there that you wouldn't expect out of a rye, and they did a great job. Once they got it down, I mean, it's a beautiful whiskey.
We've got a bunch of it now. We've got some 8-9-year-old ryes.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's getting up there in rye age right there,
Mm-hmm.
that 9-year-old.
And
I get a
good.
lot of orange zest on this, so maybe a little bit of orange marmalade. Just that tad bit of, like if you took a lemon and zested it, that spice you would get from that. That's the spice I'm talking about. Some people would be like, a lemon doesn't have no spice, but it does. It'll take and bite your tongue a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing. That's the beautiful thing about rye whiskeys, is that they all can be different. And I love that you guys are using that varietal Elbon rye, which there are some other distillers out there using it, but very few, and most of them are craft distilleries. And that's why I love having craft distilleries like Woody Creek Distillers on, is because it is the variety of life. It is something beautiful that came out of your guys' distillery, out of the mountains of Colorado. I can imagine some big old mountain man sipping on this by the campfire as he's skinning his beaver out. That's what I imagine right here.
Yeah,
or one of those
what I love about craft
Aspenites.
distilleries is
One of those Aspen ladies who's impossibly thin, sitting in a bar drinking a little rye whiskey. That's a pretty sexy picture.
with her cowboy hat that she just bought.
idiotic
It's
cowboy hat.
perfect. All hat, no cattle.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, it's you know, what I love about craft distillers in general is, that you usually have the opportunity to meet the people, and you're in touch with the people who actually make it, who are there every day. Most most large distillery, the person who has the title of distiller is, they're checking boxes and running computers and doing all the things it takes to make. And I'm not saying their whiskey is not great, because I will go back to them 100 times. There's at any given airport or hotel, you can find some of these mass produced whiskeys that are still fantastic. But to be able to go to Woody Creek to see the stills that are making the whiskey right there, to meet Blaine, to meet the distillery staff, the tasting room floor. I think that's the beauty of it. I think there's a lot of personality in these whiskeys, and it's not just what's in the bottle. It's the people that make it,
I'd
that
like
bring
to
all that love to it.
invite everyone too, listening. If you find yourself in Basalt, stop by the distillery. We have a wonderful tasting room, and one of the things that I love about it is that in the back bar, you guys know this, just to state the obvious, but if on the same day two barrels were filled and one of them was down front and the other one was up on the back rack and all the way back there in the rack house, they have very distinct personalities. And we do some blending, but on the back bar, it's marked by the barrel that it came out of, and so it's same mash bill bourbon, all barreled on the same day, but there are four different bottles of them depending on where it was in the rack house, and they have very distinct personalities. So we really get down into the weeds, into the nitty gritty of it.
Well,
And if you're there on a lucky night, you might get to see Bill singing and playing ukulele.
let's talk about that a little bit, about your tasting room. What's the hours of the tasting room, and can somebody come and tour the distillery? Can they look at the stills? Can they get the whole experience there?
I think the hours are Tuesday to Saturday. Is that
Three to
correct?
ten,
3 to
yeah,
10, something like
three
that.
to win, three to whenever, you
Yeah.
know,
You can bring your
when people are
dog
still there.
because there's a food
I
truck
love that.
outside, but you can bring your dog in. Sometimes almost as many dogs as people in there, and the dogs are great. Never seen one cause a ruckus. And yeah, it's very special. I I invite everyone there, but it's such a great secret. There's a part of me who wants to keep it quiet.
Well, that's, you always want to keep something good to yourself and
Yeah.
stuff. I was stationed up in Maine, and we would go to this place called Edgecombe, and they had a little bar in there. And every Thursday night, there would be a guy would be in there singing, and he would always sing the wreck of Edmund Fitzgerald, and it was so good.
Uh,
Whether it be snowing or it be raining, and I'm like, how can people be missing this? But I didn't want anybody else to be in there with us. I just, him playing his guitar and singing, and me and my wife sitting there enjoying a good drink on a cold winter's night. Nothing gets any better than that right there in my
yeah.
mind. But if they can get to your distillery, they can get to your tasting room. Can they buy bottles of whiskey right there off the
Oh yeah.
shelf?
Absolutely. Or multiple bottles. Yeah.
Uh,
And Mary Scanlon's really good. We've got a lot of whiskey wear, and some of it's really great. Cool hats and, all of that stuff. And we sell a lot of bitters, like there's a line of bitters there, and barware. There's very cool stuff.
And there's some distillery only things that we have there. We have
Mhm.
we have we have a pear eau de vie, that we sell at a distillery. We have some rums that we've made, as well, that that'll never go on the market. That you only ever find them in the distillery itself, because we're never going to put anything out that that we're not sourcing 100% um, of. And obviously there's no sugar cane in Colorado, so but right there, I mean, our original distiller was a rum distiller as well, so some of the rums that we made are pretty great, and you can find them right there in the distillery.
I
And like
love
Bill
it.
said, you can head to toe. You can walk out in Woody Creek where.
This rye whiskey right here, it takes me back to a memory of going to my grandmother's house and she always had that big crystal dish on the coffee table, and sometimes she would have those orange spice candies in there, and that's
Yeah.
what I'm getting in this glass. That's what I love about whiskey. It takes you back to a memory of a good time in life where there were no cares in life, and the only care was I hope Grandma has those orange candies,
Yeah.
spice candies on in that glass bowl. And she would be like, "Those are for Grandpa, so put it back." So, Sean, you are legendary. You had a couple bars about making cocktails. What's your favorite cocktail to make? Or maybe what's one cocktail you would recommend to listeners?
Right. I'm a I drink my whiskey neat or on the rocks for the most part, but I also love creating cocktails because, your whiskey can be a great backbone or foundation to so many other flavors. Our bourbon is amazing in sour style cocktails. And it also works really well with tree fruits, pears, apples, peaches, things of the sort. So a peach whiskey sour made with either fresh peaches, especially if you can get the Palisades peaches here in Colorado, into that, or maybe a smash with a whiskey smash with lemon and peach and a little bit of mint, is a great way to drink the bourbon. Um, our rye works amazingly with berries. It works with raspberry, it works with blackberry and bitters. It makes an amazing Manhattan. We do at the distillery we have a blackberry sage smash with the rye. That is, I mean, it's a die for. It's like a starter whiskey cocktail for people who've never drank whiskey before, but are kind of easing into it. But it's also somebody who's drank whiskey for years can appreciate this cocktail. It's definitely a whiskey cocktail with accents of blackberry and sage, but the rye plays beautifully with it. Um, you know, the gins are perfect in martinis. I can't I can't say enough of an excellent ice cold martini is one of my favorite things to drink. Um, you know, Even with the Mary's gin with the butterfly flower extract in there, or butterfly pea flower in there, is fantastic. And the vodka is amazing because unlike your vodka sodas and where there's like an absence of flavor and people are drinking these mass produced vodkas with whatever vodka's out there because they want the absence of it. Woody Creek vodka brings body to a cocktail. And I mean, a vodka martini with Woody Creek vodka, I mean, you could almost just stir it chilled and put it up with a twist without the vermouth. I love the vermouth. 2-to-1 Woody Creek vodka to a proper dry vermouth is amazing with a
Two to
lemon
one.
twist. 2-to-1, yeah, I like 2-to-1. I think people are, I like what vermouth brings to the table there. And there's enough body in the Woody Creek vodka to hold up, and I love that ratio. Um, yeah, go ahead.
I think I'm gonna make my favorite cocktail, especially for to try to get people into whiskey, especially because I feel like uh, some women are like, man, whiskey's too powerful for me. So I always like, do you like margaritas? And they're like, oh yeah, I love a margarita. And what I like to tell them is, well, you got to try a whiskey sour with egg whites because it's going to be
Yeah.
like drinking a key lime pie for you.
It's true.
And I think this rye whiskey right here would do something different for a whiskey sour for me. So I'm gonna try to make one and see if I can rock it out. Uh, the other
Yeah.
thing I like to do is in the morning times on the weekend when I get some free time, and my wife's like, "Let's have some mimosas." I like to make the old man mosa. You take champagne, orange juice, and pour a little bourbon in it or a little rye whiskey.
Interesting.
Uh, uh, Gives it that little extra oomph that you need in life sometimes to get that weekend started after a long week. So, man, I can't wait to use either one of these in one of those cocktails. I think it'd
I,
be perfect.
I think with your whiskey sour with the rye, have you ever made yourself a New York sour? So
I've had one made for
yeah,
me.
egg white sour with the rye with a little top of a nice fruit forward red wine is incredible. Just layered on top.
Hmm.
The rye works so well with it. I've made it. hundreds of times before, to turn people on to a rye cocktail. And that you're talking about that man mosa, that's also pretty tasty if you just use a high life instead of the champagne. You want to go you want to go straight Saturday afternoon on that. It's perfect.
Straight Saturday afternoon. I love it. That almost goes good with a Miller High Life, or that
Yeah.
man mostly with a Miller High Light. You said
Yeah.
would be perfect with a bologna sandwich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get a bologna and cheese sandwich like was it Roberts in Nashville,
Robert's
Tennessee?
Western World.
Yeah, Robert's
Yeah,
Western
that's
World.
man. Did you look me up or something? I had Guy
No.
Ferrera make me a bologna sandwich in there one night, and I do stand out in the crowd. And I was walking through there, and I guess he recognized me, and he drinks whiskey, so he was like, "Big Chief," and I was like, "You're talking to me? You are a known celebrity, a food star." Made me a bologna sandwich up in Robert's Western World. That's one of my favorite bars of all time, because you
Yeah,
can get the Brazzability up in there. Better stand back, you fakers out there talking about those fake cowboy hats.
Yeah.
Stand back away from me. Don't step on my boots. I grew up in a ranch in Texas, so I knew when the proper way to wear a hat is. When you wear a felt hat, it better be cold outside.
Yeah.
Bill, what's your favorite cocktail?
Well, when I first started tending the bar, the bartender said, if you want to take the measure of a bartender, ask for an old fashioned. And I even wrote a song about it, but I'm an old fashioned guy. I like to muddle the fruit. I like the bitters, cherry and orange bitters. And I prefer a rye old fashioned, but bourbon's just fine. But it's got to have a splash of club soda to finish it off. And then you can.
I could do that. Yeah, I can do
The
that.
new old fashions, I don't know, the bitters don't come out the way I like. And since we're talking about when we're getting down and dirty, you know what I love so much? I make hot toddy, and I prefer rye, but just some herbal tea like wild sweet orange or lemon zinger. I like to sweeten it with too much maple syrup and put too much lemon juice in it, and then top it off with a shot or two of rye whiskey, and put it in a big freaking mug, and I can sip on that all night.
Now, you guys must have looked me up. I think you have, because I don't know if you know this, but one of my sponsors is a maple farmer in Ohio, Seldom Seen Farms, and he barrel ages maple syrup. So maybe I can get him to send you guys a couple bottles of those.
I'm a
for
big
your
fan.
cocktails.
Maple syrup, it comes from the mighty maple tree. How can it be bad for you?
Well, it can if you eat too much of it. Get that little sugar high, you'll look like Elf. Bill, I want to do something different here, and we might go a little long, listeners, but this is worth it to me right here. If Bill, you keep talking about singing these songs and stuff, and I'd love for you to go grab one of those ukuleles and sing us a song if you would, if you got the time. He's thinking about it. He's thinking about it,
He
ladies and
just
gentlemen. Oh,
happens
he's
to
got
have
one. He's got one right there. Let's do it. Let's do it.
I love a good old fashioned, not a new old fashioned. Hold on. I love a good old fashioned, not a new old fashioned. I'm an old fashioned guy. So if you make it right, we'll hang out all night. Raise your glass, here's mud in your eye. You put some ice in a glass, now please don't laugh. But make sure your ice is cold. You shake it to a Angostura, but not before you pour a little sugar so it's sweet and bold. If you don't muddle the fruit, it's like wearing a suit without putting on a shirt or tie. Use fine old bourbon, but if I could put a word in it, you might try my Woody Creek rye. Ha, ha. I love a good old fashioned, I'm a new old fashioned. I'm not shy to tell you why. I believe the old trope about things that ain't broke, so I'm an old fashioned guy. Oh yeah. I'm an old fashioned guy.
I love it.
Love it.
That's some mighty fine picking, as they always say down there in Georgia. Where in Georgia are you from?
I grew up until I was about 8 or 9 around Atlanta, Macon, Decatur. My dad worked for Dun and Bradstreet down there. And so when I moved to Maryland, Western Maryland, I had a thick Southern accent. I remember my I went outside. My mom said, "Go out and meet your friends there." And I said, "Hi, I'm Billy Macy. I just moved here." And this guy goes, "Oh my God!" And he grabs me and takes me into his house and he says, "Mom, listen to this. Say something."
That's what happened to me up in Maine, Bill. Is I was walking to the grocery store and I asked somebody. I said, "Do you have this hot sauce?" And the lady's like, "You talk funny," and I'm like, "I talk funny. You talk funny.
Yeah.
All you people in here talk funny. I talk regular."
Well, when
I
Jimmy
got that
Carter
on
was first,
Texas Hill Country.
when Jimmy Carter was elected president, one of the first speeches he gave was to the Georgia legislature, and he said, "Isn't it a relief to finally have a president who doesn't have an accent?"
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So you got a whiskey that I believe I saw that you have a 10-year-old, and then you got a little older one than that. Is that correct, or is it just the 10-year-old?
They're both
Wood?
10-year-olds. The first one, the reserve that I did, I picked it in a blind barrel tasting. Sean, you were there for the second one. And
Second one, yeah.
the first one was a 70-30 mash bill, 30% malted. And I kind of horrified everyone at the distillery because the one I liked, we only had about 4 or 5 barrels of. They said, "Are you sure you didn't like this other one?" But we sold all of that, or almost all of it. And then I did another one, and to my great shock, it's 100% rye, which Sean just held up the box. And that is a 10-year-old.
Wow, I really do love that you're in there picking whiskey to put your name on and stuff, and I think some celebrities out there, and you don't come off as a celebrity bigger than everybody else. You seem like a very down to earth guy, and that's the stuff I've heard about you, that you are just a down to earth man from Georgia. That I love that you're in there doing that, and picking those barrels out yourself. That says a lot about you.
I've worked with a lot of celebrity spirits before. I work with Live Nation nationwide, and we have a lot of the celebrity spirits. Hardly do you find that the celebrity named with the spirit is involved in picking their, putting their name on anything. But Bill's right there. He's around the corner from the distillery, and we sat and picked this reserve, the second version of it out, and I mean, in the end, the decision was Bill's. I mean, 4 of us tasting and bouncing off each other, and 2 of me and another Jess, another favorite bartender of ours who has an amazing palate, also a sommelier, and the distiller Blaine and Bill, and we all had our opinions, but Bill made the final call on it, and I mean, I'm drinking it right now. It's a beautiful whiskey. I'm proud to have been a part of it.
Now,
To my great relief, too, when I chose the first one, I mean, these guys are serious. They've got palates. I don't. I kept swallowing the shit. And that time we did about 8 barrels, I believe, maybe 9 barrels, and I kept forgetting to spit it out. And I had to take myself outside and walk around a little bit because I was pie-eyed by the 5th barrel. And
pied. I love that. That's a German slang right
it
there.
is.
Pied, being drunk.
Well, I was pie-eyed and I couldn't feel the roof of my mouth, and because it was all this barrel strength stuff. But at
Yeah,
the end of it,
that's the bottle right there.
at the end of it, I said, "This is the one I like." And to my great relief, 3 of the other guys said, "Yeah, that's mine too." But I'm the big fat movie star, so put my name on it. And
Well,
the
let's
same
talk.
thing, Sean and I picked the same barrel. And we would have sworn that it was a blend or
Yeah,
a complicated mash bill. We were both
Wow.
shocked that it's 100% rye.
the depth of flavor in it just spoke to possibly I thought maybe it was a 70-20-10 or something different, but it was 100% rye, and amazingly so, and we're pretty happy to put it in the bottle and proud to have it.
What's the future look like? Do you guys any other projects that you're going to come out with? Maybe a William Macy Big Bad Booty Daddy Bourbon Big Chief 10-year wheat or something like that? I don't know.
Big
Just throwing out
bad
ideas,
booty
guys.
bad, big bad booty bear bourbon.
So
It's not bad.
yeah, it's a lot of bees. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I might have said it a time or two. The big bad booty daddy of bourbon, the weedy king of Kentucky, the big chief. Yeah.
They're always coming up with new things, but we've got a pretty wide range of bourbons and ryes. We've got the two gins and the vodka, so we've got it. I don't think we're going to expand that much more.
Yeah. I think if your focus is, you know, we have five core products basically, and I think our focus is on those five. We've become way more of a whiskey company over the years. Our whiskeys have really pushed to the forefront, because they're excellent. And I think we do have a lot of different mash bills from the early experimentation phases that you could see single releases of and
Mhm.
little bits of, but we've kind of refined where we're at, and I think we're going to do what we do best is
And
is making those whiskey and bourbons. And I love and I don't the weeded is hard to get, and
yeah,
and we'll try and make sure that Colin gets you a bottle of the weeded. We don't have a lot of it. I think originally they thought the first bourbon might be a weeded bourbon. That our bourbon might be a weeded bourbon, but we'll make sure to find somebody to get you a bottle of it. But those five core is really what we're sticking with. I mean, you do something well, keep doing it.
yeah.
Hey,
You
that's
know?
what. Hey, Maker's Mark and Jack Daniels, both of them, made one type of whiskey for many and many years.
Yeah,
Maker's Mark, all they made was weeded bourbon and a certain kind, and that was it. There was nothing else.
We've been
And
putting the
Jack
stuff
Daniels
away
made Old
too.
Number 7. They didn't make anything else. They just kept going and going and going, and it turned out beautiful. So you kind of got to love something like that. But you're right. If you're doing it well, then why change?
And we're
yeah.
putting it away. We've got several thousand barrels that are getting over 5 years old. So we've got some quality stuff coming out.
Well, I think in May when I come out, I'm going to have to pay you guys a visit.
You got to, man. You got to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Uh,
You
I
never know,
think
mate. You might get a 70-degree day. You might get 3 inches, 4 inches of snow.
Yeah.
You know,
you get 4 inches of snow in Texas down here in the southeast of Texas.
everything shuts down.
You got some issues in life. My swimming pool does not like that at all. It says no snow. And I moved from Kentucky to get away from the snow, and it snowed this winter. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. What's that about?
I don't even know. I was going to say something, but I'm going to stay away from politics. uh, this is some mighty fine whiskey right here, listeners. If you can get your hands on it, get it. Woody Creek Distillers. You want something different? You want something that's unique? You want something that's a craft that's made with love from the Colorado Rockies? This is the whiskey you want. Where can our listeners find you guys on social media?
Woody Creek Distillers is Instagram. I think it's everywhere at Woody Creek Distillers,
And
and WoodyCreekDistillers.com.
you can pretty much get everything we have online. There are some states that have restrictions, but you can buy it online easily.
Almost everywhere now you can get whiskey shipped to your house.
Mm-hmm.
You know, old FedEx and UPS guy know me by name.
Yeah.
They're like, "You got any of those samples that you usually give out?" And I was like, "It's like candy around here."
It's like your
old
mom's,
school
your
Mid-South.
grandmother's bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Now, what about your guys' website? Can they go on your website and get whiskey shipped to their house?
They can.
Yeah, yeah. There's an aftermarket company that does it, so it comes quickly and it's wrapped beautifully.
Yeah, it'll send you a third party that we use
Now
for legal
both of
sake.
you have social media accounts yourself. People can follow you, check you out, see what you're doing in the world, sipping on whiskey in a bar or by a fire or down by a creek.
I'm on Instagram, I think under my name, William H. Macy, and
All right.
Yeah.
and I post about all kinds of shit, but a lot of it about Woody Creek and what's going on.
And I'm at Sean Kenyon, SeanKenyon 13, on all social media handles. And I get to travel the world and drink whiskey at the same time. So I try and share that as much as I do, as much as I can.
That's a tough job to have.
It is a
Yeah.
tough job.
It's
Someone's got to
horrible,
do it.
Horrible. Somebody does have to do it. Hold on a minute. I'll do it for a little bit. One last question for you, Bill, and I'll let you guys go. What's the next movie project? And I hear there might be a Wild Hogs 3.
That's what I hear too. It's devoutly to be wished for. They're talking about maybe late summer. As far as I understand, the other lads want to make the movie, and I desperately want to make it. We had so much fun making that movie. Tim Allen is in fucking sane. You know that little voice in your head that says, "Don't say that." He doesn't have that voice. So he is just a treat to be around. And Martin and John wants to do it. So maybe that. I just did a couple of days on a remake of Running Man, the Stephen King thing, in Great Britain. A beautiful film called Train Dreams, about loggers in the late 1800s, early 1910, something like that. Really beautiful. It's sold for $1 billion at Sundance, so I don't know who's releasing it. That's a beautiful movie. And a couple of others. This teen movie that my daughter talked me into doing. It's really delightful. It's called Brian. These are all in the can, but they'll be coming out soon. Spring.
I have a book that I've been writing for the last probably 25 years, and my brother always tells me, "Hey, you need to finish this damn thing up." We're kind of co-writing it, and it's called The Last Drive, and it's got a historical value to it. It's about disgraced soldiers out of World War II that have to leave the fronts, and they're shipped back for punishment, and they need soldiers because there's nobody left, no men in America really. Women were doing everything. So they need all these disgraced soldiers and a disgraced general to drive cattle from the west to the stockyards. That would be a dream one day to be on a movie with an old chuck wagon and just an old sergeant major and some general. I can't thank you guys enough for being on here. I really do appreciate it. I love that I've been sipping on your whiskey the whole time. I poured 2 glasses of each of the bourbon and the rye, and spectacular. My cowboy hat comes off for you. I really do love it. I appreciate you coming on here and taking this ride on a whiskey trip. Any last words for the listeners?
Come visit us. Come visit us in Basalt and see the distillery and bend an elbow with us.
Awesome. Sean?
Same. I mean, come see the distillery, check it out where you can. Find us online and order yourself a bottle and you'll see for yourself.
Or if you're in Denver, go to Sean's Bar.
Williams and Graham and Occidental. And I also want to say last thing is, if Bill does make Wild Hogs 3, he's a much better motorcycle rider in person than his character on the movie.
I love it. I do love it. And I will come visit you at your bar. A man's got to eat, as I always tell my wife. I just find myself eating in bars a lot.
You can make the excuse that you're coming for dinner. We serve food till 1 a.m. every night. So
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, listeners, you know where you can find old Big Chief. You can find me at The Whiskey Trip on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and on YouTube now. Check me out. Leave me those 5-star reviews on Apple Podcast and on my Facebook page. If you're listening to me, make sure you listen to Matt and Mark from the Bourbon Life. Those 5-star reviews that you give us, the Bourbon Life and the Whiskey Trip, they help open doors to distilleries like Woody Creek Distillers and get great guests on our show like William, Bill, Macy, and Sean Kenyon. It gives you great content while you're driving to work, that 30-minute drive that's just boring. You got the same damn music playing every day, just over and over and over. Well, listen to me. Listen to old Big Chief bring you the rest of the dram, like old Paul Harvey used to say. Well, he used to say the rest of the story. I say the rest of the dram. That's right. So keep listening. I got some great guests coming up for you. Keep writing those reviews. I'm at 54. The goal by the end of the year is to have 100 reviews on Facebook. Like I said, it keeps me driving. It keeps me motivated to find that distiller out there that's making magic in a bottle. This is old Big Chief. Thanks for taking this ride with me.